Hello y'all, welcome back. Okay, so today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to be doing a tier list ranking of the Celebrity Big Brother 3 cast. I figured this would be cute since the season is coming to an end and we had a lot of interesting personalities this year, to say the least. I am going to be ranking these house guests on how well they did in the competitions, their social game, and just their overall personality. The tiers are as follows. At the very top, we have the Untouchable Tier. The Untouchable Tier is for my favorite players, the absolute creme de la creme of the season, my untouchables, if you will. Right below that, we have Trusted Ally. And these are just the players that I love, would be fun to work with in the game, yada yada yada. Right below that, we have the Coasters. These are the players that are right in the middle of the game. I didn't feel too good about them, but also didn't feel too bad about them. You know, they coasted through. They coasted. And right below that, we have the Have-Nots. These are the players that didn't do great, but you know, they weren't a complete trash dumpster fire the entire time. And finally, on our bottom tier, we have Just Evict Now. Bye, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, throw them away, just evict them now, peace. All right, now let's get started. I'll just go in alphabetical order, starting with Mr. Carson Cresley. Now, Carson seems like a lovely man. His personality is great. He's so hilarious. He has definitely been the #1 source of good vibes in the house the whole season. It seemed like Carson rarely had a bad thing to say about anybody, even the people that he didn't like in the house. And on top of that, he won 2 competitions, which is pretty impressive, more than I thought he'd win. But we all know Carson is just so gullible and he doesn't know shit about the game, okay? He seems to have this weird obsession with honesty and integrity, and so for that reason, I would put Carson in the Trusted Ally category. Carson is definitely a good friend to have. I mean, we saw how he stood up to Todd for Cynthia, but he's also a really bad Big Brother player, so that's his category. Moving on to America's sweetheart, Chris Kattan. Chris Kattan provided a lot of the comic relief for this season. He's really sweet, and most importantly, he minds his own damn business. But as we saw, he did not play the game at all. He came in out the gate saying, I'm not doing that ally shit. I'm not doing that competition stuff, okay? I'm here to sit down and eat some cake. And for that reason, I would put Chris Kattan in the coaster category. I personally loved watching him in the house, but I can't say I loved watching him play because he did not really play. Chris Kattan, you are probably my favorite coaster in Big Brother history, so congrats to you. Next up is everybody's 4th favorite NSYNC member, Kirkpatrick. Now, Kirkpatrick actually really knew the game, and he turned out to be a pretty decent strategist. He was doing a really good job, of course, until he wasn't. He at least tried to change the game, even though he ended up punking out, but then he tried to change the game again, and then he ended up backdooring himself. Ugh, yikes. I really wanted to put him in the Trusted Ally category, but because he fumbled the bag so many times in the house, I'm gonna have to put him as a have-not. Ugh, sorry, Chris. Next up is Miss Cynthia Bailey. Now, Cynthia, you know, she cool. She mind her own business. She cooks. She clean. She seems like a cool little person to just have as a roommate in general. But also, she's just kind of there in Carson's shadow a little bit. Now, I don't watch Real Housewives, but a lot of y'all are talking about how on the Real Housewives, she was just kind of there in Nene's shadow a little bit. She also didn't really seem to know or care much about the game at all. But I will admit, when she got into that fight with Todd, that lit a fire under her ass. She did start to play a little bit, but she also ended up falling kind of flat. And for that reason, I would label Cynthia as a coaster. Next up, we have Lamar. Now, Lamar is probably my favorite person to watch on the live feeds. This guy is truly hilarious, especially when he's not trying to be. He's very real and he's very authentic, even though when it comes to Big Brother, he's dumb as a box of rocks. I definitely don't agree with everything Lamar has done and said in the house, but he's just so authentic and he always keeps it real. And I also love that he's a wild card in this game. And so for that reason, he is going in the Untouchable category. If I was in this game, I would protect Lamar at all costs. I just think he would be a fantastic person to sit next to in the end because he doesn't really know the game. Next up is Misha Tate. Now, Miesha was the house guest that I was the most excited to see coming into the season because I just knew her from her UFC days. And quite early on, Miesha proved herself to be a physical comp beast. But with that being said, she didn't have that good of a social game. She clearly didn't know that much about the game, but that might not be a bad thing because she could be easily molded, which we saw Todrick do. And ultimately, I'd rather be with Misha Tate than against her. And so for that reason, Miesha is also going in the untouchable category. Next up, we have Miss Mirai. Now, Mirai is also a really strong physical competitor because she's super athletic, has great endurance, and besides, all the other house guests are so much older. But on the contrary, it didn't seem like Mirai had a strong social game. I really wish that we would have seen more of Mirai on the show. I feel like the show kind of hid her in the shadows and her edit wasn't as dynamic as it could have been. She said that she couldn't really relate to a lot of the other house guests, which makes me really sad because if I was in that house, I think I would have been her friend. So for that reason, Mirai is going up as a trusted ally. Alright, next up we have Shanna. Now Shanna is also a super fan of the show and really knows the game, and to me that really showed through in her gameplay. Her sneaky fly on the wall tactics made her a really big social threat, and she also won 2 vetoes, so she was a comp threat as well. On the contrary, she really did fall off at the end and wasn't able to defend herself the way that she should have to Carson and Cynthia, which was really unfortunate because Shanna was on such a roll. But with all that being said, I'm still putting her as an untouchable. She's going in this category because I still believe that she was the strongest overall player of the season. Next, we have Teddi. Now, we didn't get to see a lot of Teddi on the show, but if she would have lasted longer, I do think she had a good chance of being a good comp threat, especially with all the other house guests that she would have been against. She also seemed to have a really good grasp of the game, especially the social aspects. Toward the end of her run there, she did do a really good job of fighting for herself and defending herself. It just wasn't able to hold up. I really don't have anything too bad to say about Teddi's gameplay. We just really didn't get to see enough of it, and so for that reason she's going in the coaster category. Next up we have Todd. Now, on a personal level, I kind of feel like Todd would get on my nerves the most out of everybody in the house. But he never seemed to be too much of a threat in the game, and he can cook, okay? Todd can throw down. Todd is one of the people that you low-key keep around because of the cooking, you know? But on the contrary, he does seem kind of annoying to live with. I mean, Kattan low-key pretty much self-evicted because of Todd. So for that reason, Todd is going in the have-not category. Sorry, not sorry. And last, but also certainly least, we have Todrick. Now, Todrick knows the game. He was a super fan coming in, and he is pretty good at forming alliances and getting people's trust for whatever reason. But as we've seen over the course of the show, he's kind of a dick. He's arrogant, full of himself, and can be really mean to the other house guests. Although he is not a bad game player, his personality is almost unbearable. And so, Todrick, buddy, you are going into the just evict now category. I just don't think overall it would be worth the headache of playing with him. Alright, so that's my list. Voila, here it is. Yeah, we didn't really have the best, most strategic game players this season. Really, it just seemed to be a lot of celebrities who were free in February, so they figured, why the hell not? Although it's kind of been kind of a snoozer and a steamroll season, the live feeds were at least interesting, and we got a lot of fun jokes and personalities out of a lot of these house guests. So, who would be your untouchable, and who would you put in the Just Evict Now category? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more Big Brother coverage. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.